Chapter 49 of BAKI RAHEN has officially released after a week break and a translation delay, and Hanayama is proving himself to be an absolute monster in this battle. But before I start today's video, if you would like to interact with me, my community, show off your art, drop some memes, talk in general, or maybe even self-promote, then you can join the Discord that can be found in the description box below. But anyway, in the last chapter of BAKI RAHEN, Hanma continued to try and catch KAORU Hanayama off guard and do some damage, but Hanayama just would not allow Jack to get away with doing any damage to him, with Hanayama utilizing his grip strength every chapter to stop Jack. Chapter 49 of BAKI RAHEN, titled Supreme Communication, with Jack having his hands in his pockets on the cover of today's chapter, along with the phrases a desire for strength beyond limits and morals, and overwork, overdose, which could be hinting towards Jack having to push past his own limits to take the victory. And we are right where we left off, with Jack throwing a kick at Hanayama with some text that says, the finishing blow. However, it seems that Hanayama has countered this kick, judging by Jack's shocked and potentially even slightly concerned face. Rather than stopping Jack's kick by grabbing or dodging his leg, Hanayama actually stopped the kick with his fist, as Hanayama placed his knuckles on Jack's shin, with a mish sound even being made. Did it break? Wait, which one broke? As Hanayama's right hand and Jack's right shin was then shown. That was a hell of a sound, but your fist and my shin, both of them are fine, as Jack then planted both of his feet onto the floor, showing that he truly was left unharmed by this attack. He is talking. He is totally calm. It is a fist so solid and a grip so strong that you could crush your own fist, as Hanayama then remained unentertained. It is solid to be sure, but no bones were broken, as Jack's foot was then shown. An officer then stepped towards the police chief and said, "Chief, we really should step in," but the chief was locked into this fight. "You did not catch on, did you? This is not a fight. You cannot even call it violence. It is a discussion, and this is most definitely violence." Because immediately after this was said, Jack had changed positions and threw a right punch at Hanayama, but Kizaki remained unworried. Jack landed this punch directly onto Hanayama's face, but it was not the punch that Jack was truly attempting to land, but it was rather a chokehold. Oh, he got him in a choke. Jack then wrapped his right arm around Hanayama's neck, and Jack actually jumped up and completely locked a chokehold on Hanayama, with Jack mounting Hanayama's back. But yet again, Jack was not after the chokehold, but he was rather setting himself up into a position where he could bite into Hanayama's neck. And Jack had actually managed to land the bite onto Hanayama's left trap, which was the same strategy that he had used against Nomi no Sukune. And Jack is doing this because the trapezius muscle is the first muscle to engage when you pick something heavy up. He bit him, as Jack was then shown on the next panel being completely wrapped around Hanayama. And because of how long Jack's limbs are, his legs are poking out like 3 feet from Hanayama. Blood was flying out of Hanayama's trapezius, and Hanayama's hands were making a twisting motion, as Hanayama had then grabbed Jack's forearm and began twisting it as if it were a wet towel. And Jack's arm was not looking too good, as blood had began pouring out of his now twisted forearm. Both Hanayama and Jack are now both bleeding a lot, though Jack more than Hanayama, as Jack's arm still looks like it's facing the wrong direction slightly. And judging by Jack's facial expression, he is having a terrible time right now, while Hanayama on the other hand seems to be okay and unfazed with his injury. Yup, there it is, wringing his wrist out like an old towel. That one really hurts. As Kizaki then demonstrated what Hanayama had done to Jack. "You know, boss, you really should not do that." A towel wringing far beyond the norm. I have a feeling this is not the last time that Jack will be getting hurt due to the text on the cover of this chapter, which reads overwork, overdose, which could of course just refer to Jack dosing to become stronger previously, but it could also foreshadow Jack having to use his overdose ability, which has only been shown twice now, once in Grappler Baki and the second time in the non-canon Baki vs King and Ashura. And when it comes to the damage that Jack had done this chapter, it seems ineffective, though the strategy itself is a good one. When it came to Sukune, Jack had picked at Sukune and pulled parts off of him until he could not do anything. But Hanayama seems to be, as expected, far more durable, and this bite to his trapezius seems to have had no effect. And if Jack did hypothetically bite through Hanayama's trapezius muscle, I feel like there would honestly be not much of a difference made. as Hanayama has endured some gnarly injuries and still not only fought through them but also fully recovered from them. And because of Hanayama's genetics, he could possibly recover better and faster than others. And also, Hanayama could have larger and thicker tendons than others, as this would not be an absurd or overpowered concept, as it is a real thing, and real people simply have thicker tendons than others. With the primary example coming to mind for me being the ex-UFC fighter Yoel Romero, whose eye tendons were 3 times thicker than the average person's, which actually protects his eyes better from injury. As well as after suffering an orbital fracture, Yoel Romero's body began healing way before it should have, which is genuinely just because he's a genetic freak. And this could very possibly be the same case with Hanayama's trapezius muscles. As with Sukune, Jack was able to tear his traps off with some level of ease, but that was not the case with Hanayama, as from what I can see, the only results of this bite was a stream of blood shooting from the injury, and it seems that Hanayama will continue using his grip strength to counter any attack that Jack throws. And as I have previously mentioned, the mere length of Jack's limbs makes the opportunity of grabbing him way more possible, as in any position, Hanayama will be able to get his hand on some part of Jack, and as expected, he can proceed to twist, pinch, or even if he wants to and tries hard enough, make the body part burst. Though it also seems like Hanayama is not trying as hard as he could. There seems to be little flashes of Hanayama being worried, but during this fight, there has not been a single moment where I have truly believed that Hanayama is trying his best. And to quote a couple comments from the last chapter overview I uploaded, Hanayama won't be trying his best until he takes his clothes off and gets into his Muwashi belt. And Hanayama's bone strength was really shining through this chapter as well. If Hanayama's bones were not as strong as they were, Jack would have been able to land his kick on Hanayama, and as stated by the manga itself, Hanayama's knuckles would have been broken if they were like a normal fighter's, which would have been debatably worse than if Hanayama was hit in the head. And when it comes to Jack's durability, it is proving to honestly be better than ever, and even if he is not necessarily doing as much damage as expected of him, his durability is surpassing every expectation that I personally set for him. I knew his Gaudo would improve his durability, but the old Jack Hanma would have been in a terrible condition by now. While this new and improved Jack honestly is not in too rough of shape at all. That is assuming that Jack can bounce back easily from the arm twist that happened this chapter. And BAKI RAHEN will be on break next week, with chapter 50 releasing on August 6th for American and European readers, and August 7th for the viewers in Asia. But that is going to be all for today's chapter. Let me know in the comment section below, did you enjoy? I did. I think today's chapter was a pretty solid one, and progressed the fight with an alright pace. Though I feel like the last couple chapters have been pretty much the same and very similar, and I would like to see something different from the next chapter. And if you enjoyed today's video and would like to support me, then you can leave a like and subscribe. It is completely free on your end and helps me out way more than you may think. And once again, if you would like to interact with me, my community, show off your art, drop some memes, talk in general, or maybe even self-promote, then you can join the Discord that can be found in the description box below. But that will be all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!